All right, what's up, everybody? A happy Friday. Boy, do we have a busy book show lined for you today. There's so much going on in the world of sports, the world of news, politics, everything. And we got some great guests lined up for you today to talk about. I mean, did you see this? This is wild. This Marjorie Taylor Greene getting into it with Ocasio-Cortez and others on the House floor, mocking others on their looks. I wanted to start the show to talk about this today, and we are going to talk about it a little bit later on in the program. We also have what a great moderator. He helped moderate a presidential debate a few years back from the Nevada Independent. The great John Ralston will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk about new polls that maybe don't look so good for Joe Biden in the state of Nevada. We're going to talk about that with him and much, much more coming up at the bottom of the hour. We have two mayors going after each other locally here. It's become a national story. A campaign manager for one mayoral candidate calling the other a bitch. Yes, you can't make this up. We'll talk about this coming up with John a little bit later on in the program. And we also have a Republican running for office trying to seat a Democrat Congresswoman in Dina Titus. Michael Boris is a former comedian and still, by the way, a stand-up comedian. And now he's running for office. So it should be entertaining. He's going to be joining us in studio coming up in hour number 2. But I got to start with this story, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't think I'd be starting the story today talking about a golfer. Here we are. If you are a fan of golf, or even if you're not, I'll give you a little bit of background. Scottie Scheffler is the number one golfer in the world. The PGA Championship is one of 4 majors that goes on every year. And Scheffler's seems like a really good dude. I've met him a couple times. I've interviewed him. I've talked to him. Really nice guy. Good family man. What I would say is a good man of faith. He cares about his religion. He cares about his family. He's a very modest guy, right? So, as the story goes, and I'm getting text messages in the middle of the night, and we're going to have a guest from TMZ joining us here in just a few minutes. Scottie Scheffler this morning was arrested and charged with a felony and other counts outside the PGA Championship. I'm laughing because this is such a wild and crazy story. The sad part about it, there was a fatal accident that took place outside the grounds where the PGA Tour Championship is, literally less than a block away. And because of that, there was a lot of traffic there, and it was a chaotic situation for people to get into the golf course. What we are learning, according to the police report, is that police are alleging, this is based on the police report, that Scottie Scheffler attempted to drive around a roadblock at the scene of the crash, and during which an officer was dragged to the ground as he tried to stop the golfer. Scheffler has since been released. This story is wild. It's crazy. And what better person to talk about this? Because this is a national story that involves policing. It involves sports, the number one golfer in the world. It is a wild and crazy story. It doesn't matter whether you do a sports show or a political show. So I wanted to get my friends at TMZ on. Mike Babcock usually always comes on the show. He's a little tied up today, but a guy that we have on right now, a fantastic producer over there at TMZ, and he's been on this story since the news broke. Edward Lewis is joining us right now. Edward, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Crazy morning, but I'm happy to kind of talk to you about all this.
Wow. I appreciate you giving me the time. You're right, Edward. This is a crazy story. All right, so do I have it right where Scottie Scheffler, the number one golfer in the world, he's trying to get to the golf course, warm up before his tee time. There's a roadblock because of a fatal car crash. What happens next?
Yeah, so the allegation, according to the police report, is that at some point, Scottie basically tries to big time whoever is there and get around it all, right? I mean, he probably deserves to be able to big time. He's number one golfer in the world. But one of the cops tells him essentially no and tries to flag him down and get him to be like, hey, relax. This is the way you need to go. But according to the court or police documents, Scottie ignores it, drives forward, and in the process actually drags the cop with him on the car. Now, in the police documents, the cop stated he suffered abrasions, swelling, and pain on his wrist and his knees. He actually, in a lighter note, said he tore up his pants, his $80 pair of pants, and now they're beyond repair. He actually needed to go to the hospital. So Scottie was then arrested, put in cuffs. He was booked on 4 different charges, including one which was felony assault of a police officer. So that's kind of how everything broke down. It's really fairly simple, but still some allegations that Scottie probably didn't want us record.
So Scottie Scheffler did put out a statement, and he said it was he's called it a misunderstanding. He said it was never his intention to disregard any instructions. There's somebody that I believe somebody that I'm not sure which golf entity he works for, but a witness that was behind Scotty Scheffler claims that there was miscommunication. He's claiming that one officer was telling him one thing and another officer was telling him something else. I don't know if that's true or not. Have you heard anything about that? And what are witnesses saying that you've heard?
You could see it. You know what I mean? It's 5 a.m. roughly. So it's dark out there, and it's chaos. I mean, a person just lost their lives literally minutes before this. So Scotty's, even the police aren't really sure what's going on. And from the police report, it said there was a westbound lane and eastbound lane, and people are trying to get an immersion of both. And he's obviously the number one golfer in the world. He's driving on medians and stuff like that. It seems from everybody's account of the morning, it's chaos. I mean, there's cars everywhere, there's cones everywhere, there's caution tape, there's cops. So you could see how there'd be some sort of misunderstanding of where do we send the number one golfer in the world versus where do we send average Joe Schmo who's just trying to watch the action at the Holland Golf Club.
Right. If you're just joining us, Edward Lewis, senior producer over there at TMZ Sports, does a great job. So my understanding is one of the witnesses has already done an interview with ESPN and said none of the this shouldn't really matter, but none of the officers knew who he was, and they went over to this golf reporter and they asked him, who is this guy? There was a moment, I guess, where they took him out of handcuffs because Scotty said that it was hurting his wrist, and they readjusted it. They book him. What's incredible about this, I think you'll agree with me, Edward, from a sports perspective, the guy's only a couple shots off the lead, going straight from jail to a major, the PGA Championship, and he's like 3 or 4 under par. From a sports perspective, this is a wild and crazy story, isn't it?
Never seen anything like it. I just did a hit on TMZ Live about that. I was like, outside of everything, right? The number one golfer in the world getting arrested, its own story in its own right. But the man literally took a mugshot at a jail, and roughly 2 hours later, he's now only 4 strokes behind the leader at a major tournament. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
He's unflappable. He's unflappable. So how do you see this thing playing out? I guess this is where the opinion comes in, right? Where I tend to think that these charges are going to be dropped based on witnesses. Now, I want to see body camera. I'm sure you do as well. And I'm sure you guys will be one of the first to get it. When we see this body camera, it's really going to tell the story, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be so hard to prove, right? You need an extreme. Did he mean to do this? Is this all a criminal act? I mean, it's so early in the morning. It's dark out. It's confusing. I don't see them being able to be like, yes, he meant to drag this officer on his car as he made his way to the entrance of a golf course of a major event that he's competing in. So I'm with you. I think there'll obviously be some sort of investigation. They'll have to interview the cops. They'll have to watch the body cam footage. They'll have to see the intent of Scotty and his demeanor. But I cannot imagine charging a guy with 4 criminal charges, including a felony, over a miscommunication and perhaps what appears to be some sort of I didn't see the officer and I didn't know he was on my car kind of
I would also question why the officer even got on his vehicle in the first place.
Was that necessary?
Exactly. That's the question that arose to me, Edward. On a final note, Edward, I see these T-shirts already. People are wearing them on the golf course. If you remember when Tiger Woods got arrested, we still see those shirts being sold. I bought one of them of his mugshot. And now you see the mugshot of Scotty Scheffler, people wearing these shirts saying, free Scotty Scheffler. I think it's very funny. Obviously, it's tragic that somebody lost their life out there. There's nothing funny about that. It's horrible. But I think this situation in the end, knowing Scotty Scheffler, and he's going to be speaking to the media after the round, I think a year from now, we'll probably all be laughing about this, right?
Yeah, and it helps his image, right? I mean, he was such a squeaky clean, nice guy, and now it's like, he's got a little bad boy to him. Maybe it does make the golf world kind of embrace him a little bit more than it already has. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, Edward, I love what you guys do over there, man. I mean, Mike Babcock's been doing my show for, it feels like 6 or 7 years. I love you guys. You guys are always the first to, and you guys get the information right, which is more than I can say for so many other entities out there. You guys do a great job at TMZ and TMZ Sports. Keep up the great work, Edward. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Okay. Thank you for your time.
That's very sweet of you. Thank you. Anytime.
Thanks, Edward. Appreciate you, man. That's Edward Lewis, senior producer for TMZ. He's been on this story since the get-go. Okay. So there's a lot of other cliff notes, if you will, for lack of a better term, from this story. Now, you guys know I can't stand Clay Travis. This is where politics enters into this story. So, in my personal opinion, this doesn't have anything to do with race. But idiots like Clay Travis want to make this about race. And here's what Clay Travis said on social media. He said, quote, if Scotty Scheffler were black, the takes on this site from sports media would be so molten lava hot, you wouldn't even be able to hold your phone. Okay, so first of all, he's wrong again. I mean, Clay Travis's takes on everything, he's usually wrong. Number one, you could make the argument that it was actually Scotty Scheffler who was mistreated here. So if you want to make that argument, you can make the argument, well, wait a second, they treated him like he was black. Now, I'm not making that statement. Here's a guy who's trying to get to the golf course. It appears as though there's a miscommunication, quote, misunderstanding. There's no question that Scotty Scheffler wasn't trying to injure anybody. Number two, we were told through a witness, Scheffler didn't even know that these were police officers. They weren't in uniform. Number three, you could make the argument that he should have never been arrested in the first place, that the police officers that were there did not de-escalate, and at worst case scenario, maybe cite him with a ticket. So the idea that some people might say, well, geez, if he was black, it probably wouldn't have gone down the same way. I disagree with that. I think to the contrary. I think they mistreated Scotty Scheffler. Here's what I want to see happen here. Now, we don't have all the facts. I'm only going by what the police report said, and I'm going by what some witnesses said. And what some witnesses are saying are very different than what the police report says. A witness who just did an interview on ESPN, I listened to all of it, said, or at least made the claim, that he was right behind Scotty Scheffler, and you had two officers, one an investigator, one just a regular cop, that were not in uniform. And you had one officer telling him one thing, pointing in one direction, and another officer trying to stop him. So right then and there, if that is true, and I'm sure that body cam footage will probably corroborate this witness and what this witness is claiming happened, that's on the cops. That's number one. Number two, if that is the case, professional police officers would realize that, oops, we made a mistake, miscommunication. One guy went one way, and one guy said one thing, another officer said another, and you just let the guy go. So people are going to race bait. I don't think this story has anything to do with race at all. Let me be clear. Nothing. Now, maybe you guys disagree with me, and I'll open up the phone lines early today because we do have a guest coming up here in about 15 minutes, in John Ralston. But I do want to hear from you because this is a very unique story. It's a wild and crazy story. It happens to involve the number one golfer in the world. Yes, he's white. Do you agree with me that police mistreated this guy? Or do you think Scotty Scheffler deserved to be arrested? Do you think this has anything to do with race? Or do you agree with me that it doesn't and police should be held to account? I'll open up the phone lines now because I want to get your stories on this. This is a wild and crazy story. It doesn't matter whether you do a political story. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a political show, I should say. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a sports show. Everybody right now is talking about this story. Oh, yeah, Scotty Scheffler's only a couple shots back. He went straight from jail to play in a major. This is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this before. He's only 2 shots back. This would be the arguably one of the craziest sports stories ever if he ends up winning this thing. Phone number, by the way, if you want to call in, is 702-221-7283. And again, that number is 702-221-7283. I got to be honest with you. When I first heard this story, I said, was Scotty Scheffler drunk? Was he on drugs? And then I realized, well, wait a second. The guy was trying to get to his tee time at the golf course. So no. And I said, something doesn't make sense in this story, right? Something is not right here. Something doesn't make sense. And then when I learned a little bit more about the police report and I learned a little bit more about what witnesses are saying, I said, this sounds like a misunderstanding. Everything that Scotty Scheffler put in there. Listen, I call out good policing and I call out bad policing on this show. I do it all the time. I think it's important to call out good policing as well. I do it all the time. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Number to call again, 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Do you agree with me that maybe the police overreached here? Do you agree with Clay Travis that if Scotty Scheffler was black, it wouldn't have gone down the same way, maybe worse? I tend to disagree with that in this situation. 702-221-7283. And let's start off with Kava, who's first up on PTL. Hi, Kava.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. What do you think about this story?
Wow, this is a doozy of a story, bro. I just have to say that at this point, I don't want to play the race card just because at this point, officers, there are good officers, there are bad officers. There are good people, there are bad people. Now, here's my thing about this is if that cop maybe was told to get on top of the car, if, let's just say hypothetically, if the sergeant or whoever was in charge told the officer to do so, I can understand why the officer could have made that decision if he was told to do so.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't, he put himself in a very, very, very dangerous situation that he probably did not need to deal with that. He got himself injured, but also the driver in the vehicle should have pulled over and said, "Oh my gosh, there's an officer on my car. I should probably stop my car and make sure they're okay, just to ensure that person's safety as well, because it's on the drivers as well to ensure people's safety."
Let me ask you. I hear what
the
you're saying. Let me ask you a question, because I talk about this when it comes to policing a lot. When an officer should just let somebody go, and when an officer should jump on the car to try to stop an individual. I believe the only time an officer should do that, and I believe this is the way they're trained, is if they believe the person behind the vehicle is a threat to other people and is threatening the lives of others. Clearly, that wasn't the case here. Why would an officer get on a vehicle, attach himself to the vehicle, as was described in the police report, and in essence, risk his own life because someone's trying to get into the golf course and maybe they're on a road trying to get there where you're not allowing them to? I feel like this is very bad policing, right? I just don't think I want to see the body camera footage, and I hope there's body camera footage here. There might not be. My understanding is these officers were not in uniform. I don't know if that means they had body cameras on or not, but I want to see the body camera footage. And while it's important to call out good policing and heroes, it's also important to call out bad policing. And to me, this sounds like bad policing.
So for me, I would have to say, and I just have this question, Brian. What if this officer sergeant would have told him to do so, to get on top of the vehicle and do whatever? What if this was that case where the sergeant told the officer to do that?
Well, I don't know if that's the case. I don't think that's how it went down. I think the way it went down is pretty much the way Scotty Scheffler explained it, which is pretty simple here. And basically,
because the only reason I think that is if a sergeant or someone above him told him to do so. That's my only thing. Like, I'm not saying that's what happened, but to me that could have been the case. Now I'm not saying, because I don't know. I haven't seen the body footage there.
All I'm saying is
the case.
No, I hear you, Kava, and you're right, and I appreciate the call. All I'm saying is, why would an officer attach himself to a vehicle in this situation? Are they trained to do that? Are they? Are they trained to risk their life because somebody might be driving in an area where maybe they're not supposed to? Is that threatening the lives of others? I don't know. Well, our next caller, of course, he joins us every week on the show. He's not only an NBA veteran, a 12-year NBA veteran, but he also has a couple of his kids that are still in law enforcement, so he might know a thing or two about this. Big Mo, Mr. Paul McKeskey. Paul, what's up, man?
What's up, Brian? Happy Friday, man.
Happy Friday. What do you make of this? Am I wrong? Am I wrong on this?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Everybody's waiting for the body cam. I don't know if there will be any, because you have to turn your body cam on. And when you come into a situation that you think is needed, you're going to turn your body cam on, and it reads, and it starts like 15 seconds before you turn it on.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if we'll actually see that. I hope we do, but you need to. And we weren't there. I think the officer maybe overreacted. However, when you look at what their report says, this is what their report says. Detective Gillis stopped Scheffler and attempted to give instructions. Subject refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging Detective Gillis to the ground. Detective Gillis suffered pain, swelling, and abrasions on his left wrist and knee.
Mm-hmm.
So,
let me respond to that. It's possible that when they use the term "refuse to comply," it's very possible that Scotty Scheffler didn't hear. Now, that's possible. I think their intent is very important here. I don't believe a guy that's never been arrested before, that's never been in trouble with the law before, all of a sudden refused to comply with police officers and played the "I'm the number one golfer in the world, I'm not going to listen to cops." Mo, I'm just not buying that based on his history. I'm not buying it. I think, like what Scotty Scheffler said, it was a misunderstanding. I would use the term miscommunication. I don't think he intentionally tried to not listen to directives. I'm not buying that. I'm just not.
Yeah. No, and I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree that, he's everyone says he's a great guy and he's very family oriented and all that. However, the police officer at the time didn't recognize him, don't know who that's in the car, don't know what their intention is. And, you brought up a great point. When does a police officer risk their life in a situation? Obviously, gun, knife, all that stuff, protecting the community. And we know the history of what's going on now where people are driving trucks and cars into parade crowds and just crazy stuff.
Right.
So if that officer didn't know who it was and thought they give him instructions and the person didn't listen in their mind and was driving forward, then that's a decision that you're going to have to make split second, whether I try to get on the car or stop it. And here's my catch-22. So say it was someone in that car that wasn't Scheffler, that was somebody else and had bad intentions, and that officer didn't even try to stop them, and they drove and ran over people or caused another incident, then the officer would be held accountable for not doing that.
In that situation, yes, in that hypothetical situation, but we have a vehicle that says PGA Championship on the side of it. Clearly it's marked as a golf vehicle. The police officers need to know that. They're literally a couple hundred feet from the main entrance to the golf course. They have to know that there's going to be a lot of traffic of people going in and out of there. If it's some sort of volatile situation, like example, a Black Lives Matter protest that could turn violent, or a gay pride parade, or whatever the case may be, where there might be individuals that sadly want to cause harm to people, then you have to be a little bit more vigilant. I'm with you, Mo. But this is a situation where we have a major golf tournament right in front of the front entrance to the golf course, and that's a far different circumstance, and the police officers have to be aware of that. That's my point.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, we have to take, at that point of when everything started happening, everything is a hypothetical.
Right.
Everything.
Correct. Yep.
So, the world is so great that no one would steal a car. No one would put fake identification on them to try and get into a golf event. No one would really do that. We know that's not true, that some people will. So at the point of that decision that officer made, it was a hypothetical. He didn't know who was in the vehicle, didn't have proof of who's in the vehicle. Just because it has an ID on it doesn't mean that's the right person in there.
Yeah,
so
I understand that.
Mo,
I hear what you're saying, Mo. Yeah, go ahead.
I think what you're talking about is probably what happened. I think Scheffler maybe got a little rattled and needed to get to the course, but didn't do anything maliciously at all.
Right.
I think the officer might have overreacted.
Yep.
Because actually that officer is a human being on a scene where a man was killed.
I understand.
And so he probably was amped up and maybe overreacted to the situation.
Yeah.
I think, and I believe that probably what happened, but I think you have to look at both ends. And I think hopefully the charges will be dropped. I would love the officer and Scheffler to get together and say, hey, there's a misunderstanding,
Here's something
whatever.
for you. Here's my dream, Mo, and I'll leave you with this. My dream scenario in this story: Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship, and the officer that arrested him or that was injured joins him during the press conference.
Wow, that would be awesome.
Would be the story of the decade, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. And the only thing that would top that, Brian, is if we're watching that at a local pub and we both hit royal straight flushes.
Well, wait a second. You can't hit a royal straight flush, Mo. Come on. It's either a royal flush or a straight flush. Come on, Mo. Get your terminology
right. I'll take aces with the kicker. I don't care.
Fair enough.
That's my dream.
Fair enough. That's a good dream. That's a good dream, Mo. Hey, it's good to hear from you, my friend. I hope you have a great weekend. And thank you to all the people in your family who serve and protect their heroes. As you know, I say that on the air all the time. And hopefully this situation will be squared up. Mo, I appreciate you, my man. Have a good weekend.
I appreciate it, brother. Take care.
Take care, Mo. He might be right. I think we both could be right here. Clay Travis is a right-wing buffoon. trying to inject race into this, which is the dumbest thing. There are certain scenarios where you want to inject race. I think the George Floyd situation, very fair. I don't think if George Floyd was white, he would have been murdered that day. I don't believe if Ahmaud Arbery was white, that would have happened, or if it did happen and the color of the skin of the people that murdered him were black, they would have been arrested that day. There are certain situations where race absolutely plays a factor. This did not play a factor at all. Black or white, I think the officers overstepped their grounds here, and I'm rooting for Scotty Scheffler. This is a great story. You think of all the people that are going to be behind him this weekend winning the PGA Championship. I hope he does. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. There are new Joe Biden polls that are not looking good for him, especially here in the state of Nevada. John Ralston from the Nevada Independent, and that's exactly what he is. He is a fair-minded guy who's moderated presidential debates. Going to get his thoughts on that. We have a mayoral race here where somebody from one campaign called the other candidate a bitch. Yeah, that's right. Ralston actually moderated the debate between these mayoral candidates, so we'll talk about that with him coming up next as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with John Ralston after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
I am Eva Olivia Chase, candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, Democrat with progressive ideas, including a woman's right to choose, public money for public schools, student debt relief reduction, and forgiveness. As a trans woman and a veteran, I will fight to protect the democracy of our country. Vote and support Eva Olivia Chase for Nevada State Assembly District 16.
All right, welcome back on a Friday afternoon in the Valley. Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. You could be watching, of course, listening on the AM/FM dial, YouTube, TikTok, Washington Press Network, the Occupy Democrats Network. We're everywhere, and what a busy news day. If you're not the number one golfer in the world getting arrested before your tee time, there's a lot of other stuff going on, both locally, politically, and nationally. And what better person to talk about some of this stuff than a guy that I certainly have so much respect for. I love the Nevada Independent, and he is the CEO and the editor of the Nevada Independent, and he just actually did a great job moderating a mayoral a mayoral debate. I thought he did a great job. John Ralston joining us right now. John, it's a pleasure to see you, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for the kind words, Brian. It's been too long. I appreciate it. Let's just spend the whole time talking about Scotty Scheffler and how the guy gets arrested. This totally ridiculous thing happens, and I don't know if you saw, he's shooting like a 66 today.
Yeah.
Or something.
So John, he's 2 shots behind the leader,
Exactly.
straight from jail. He shows up 57 minutes before his tee time, and he's 2 shots off the lead. I think that's the definition of unflappable. I don't think anything can phase this guy, right?
Exactly right, man.
It's really unbelievable. What a wild and crazy story that involves sports, policing. It's wild. But so many other topics I want to get to you, John. Let's start national and then local. And even though it's Nevada polls, it's still a big national story because you talked about this and you wrote about it. Joe Biden not polling very well in the state of Nevada. What does this mean for Joe Biden? What are the polls saying? And reading, kind of forward towards November, how could this play a huge factor?
It's hard for people to step back from this stuff because, as you know, Brian, everything's in the moment, and let's either rejoice or panic about the latest poll. And I was having this conversation with a national media guy who called me about the poll this morning. It's the middle of May. There's 6 months to go. You and I couldn't even come close to predicting what's going to happen from now until the election that could change the dynamic. I mean, the way information moves these days, something big could be happening while you and I are talking, right? And we wouldn't find out about it. Having said that, I don't think Biden's behind by 13 points in Nevada, as that poll showed. As you know, I look at the internals of these polls, and you can read a little bit too much into the smaller subgroups. But in Clark County, which is 3/4 of the people that were polled, they showed Trump ahead of Biden by almost double digits. That's impossible. And if by some miracle it's right, then every Democrat on the ballot is going to lose. I mean, so do I think that Biden is in trouble in Nevada? Yeah, I do. I do think, and so do Democrats who follow this stuff closely on the ground. But he's in trouble almost everywhere. So I think as a trend, I think the New York Times poll may be correct. I just don't believe that margin.
Tend to agree with you. What do you make of the fact that, Joe Biden has agreed to 2 debates? I think actually it's a good thing for Joe Biden to prove to the American people, because there are a lot of people in this country that think he's unfit, not mentally there. You've heard all those things and the attacks on the right. I think this is a good thing for Joe Biden. What do you make of this?
I think we're going to have to wait till June 27th to see what happens and to see if Trump actually follows through. Listen, I think that the Democrats are very nervous, but they feel they need to get this out of the way. If there is damage created by the June 27th debate, again, as we've been talking, it's an eternity until the election. But they also think that it's very possible that Trump, who says crazy things almost every time he is in public, might do some crazy stuff as well. But Democrats are nervous about Biden's age. They're nervous, as they should be. The American public is nervous about it, even supporters of Joe Biden. So he has a real opportunity here, because don't forget, the thing about debates is the expectations game is huge. And so how the media portrays it, I mean the national media, if Biden surmounts those very low expectations, doesn't make any mistake, doesn't look like he's too tired or too old to be president, that's going to be a big win for him. But I am telling you that most Democrats are going to be crossing their fingers throughout that entire debate.
I'm not even a Democrat, even though I'll be voting for Joe Biden. I'm going to be crossing my fingers as well. I'm one of those people. I'm very anti-Donald Trump. So John, you've helped moderate presidential debates. You've been doing this for a long time. So I think you're the perfect person to ask this question. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did this show last week. Went viral because he admitted to, for a couple reasons, but the worm brain story, of course, but he admitted to giving his kids fake vaccination cards, which my understanding is a felony. And a lot of people on the right and the left were writing about that. But do you believe he deserves a spot on the debate stage, at least for one of these debates? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd use the word deserve. And these things are tough. Yeah, you mentioned the mayoral debate that we had, and I'm not saying it's analogous to a presidential debate, except for this issue. I got some heat for only including 3 of the 15 candidates. You have to find a reasonable metric to see who's going to be on a debate. The presidential debates have always done that. I don't think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. meets the qualifications right now to be on the debate stage. He's claimed that he's qualified for a lot of ballots, including Nevada. Well, we don't know that yet. He's just said they have the signatures. We don't know that.
Right.
And you know, if you let him on, why not let Jill Stein on? She's run for president before as well. So I feel for I feel for anyone who's organizing these debates. You have to cut it off somewhere. And I don't. Besides having a very famous last name, why has he earned his way on there? And especially since, as you pointed out, and I'm sorry I missed your interview with him, Brian, but he's a crank. And so he's just a crank with a very well-known name.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way you feel. I appreciated him coming on. He wants to come on again, but I tend to agree with what you're saying.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that you interviewed him, Brian. I think it's great because, and again, I've said this before, and it's not sucking up. I don't suck up to anybody. I've been interviewed by a lot of people. You're always prepared, and I'm sure you had really good questions for him, and I don't blame you for interviewing him. There's a different question between doing that and trying to get him to answer questions and allowing him on a debate stage with the nominees of two presumptive nominees of the two major parties.
Agree. And I appreciate you saying that. And as you know, I interview more people I disagree with than I agree with. Unfortunately, some of these people, particularly MAGA Republicans, some of them aren't willing to come on the show. They don't want to be challenged, unfortunately. And that's unfortunate, but I give Robert F. Kennedy Jr. credit. He's going to come on again. You know, and I love interviewing people that I disagree with all the time. I want to ask you about this, just the state of affairs, how nasty politics is today. I think it's probably nastier than at any time you and I have been doing this. And we both have been doing this for a while. National and local. First national, I don't know if you saw the Marjorie Taylor Greene incident with Ocasio-Cortez yesterday, and talking about fake eyelashes. And then the mayoral candidate race, even though nothing like this was said, thank God, on the debate stage that you moderated, and you did a great job. But now we're learning that, and you talked about this on social media, where Mayor, or she's attempting to be the next mayor, Shelley Berkeley, a member of her staff, calling Victoria Seaman, quote unquote, a bitch. I'm like, where are we at now? What do you make of this?
Well, listen, I haven't seen the video of the AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I've read about it. It sounds pretty nasty. Marjorie Taylor Greene being nasty is what you expect, right? A campaign manager, and by the way, Brian, I'll tell you very candidly, I wasn't sure whether we should have done that story or not. I saw the video, but in conversations internally, I was persuaded when you have a campaign manager for a major candidate saying what he said to another major candidate, that's a story. I wish we had gotten more information, and they're not going to disclose it about what exactly happened before that they were arguing about, but the background's obvious. Tom Letitia used to represent Victoria Seaman and now is representing Shelley Berkeley. But there is a coarseness and a lack of civility in politics that has escalated through the years. It's always been there at some level, but now it's constant, right? And that has to do with the internet and with social media and the ability to deliver information in so many different ways that if you're attention seekers like Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is all she is, you're going to be able to say incendiary things and the media will cover it as if it's the big story of the day.
Unfortunately, you're right. There are more noisemakers in Washington, D.C. today than actual lawmakers, and there's plenty of examples we could provide. It would take the rest of the show. Let's talk about gas prices real quick, because you talked about this as well. Gavin Newsom getting into it with our governor, Republican Governor Joe Lombardo, sparring over rising gas prices. What do you make of this?
I think, the Lombardo, there's no loss for him in going after Gavin Newsom. He occasionally has to do things that the base loves, right? And Gavin Newsom, he's going to respond the way that we expected him to respond. But again, it's full of sound and fury, signifies very, very little, Brian. It's not that meaningful. It's just people in elective office occasionally having to score points with their base. That's all that is.
Yeah. With all the local races that are going to be taking place here, and of course, the voting here starting in very, very right around the corner, right? And we're going to find out in mid-June who's going to be coming through. What do you think? What would you consider to be one of the closest races here that could have national ramifications? That's probably going to get the most publicity.
Well, I think what's going to get the most publicity nationally is the Republican primary for the U.S. Senate, where the national Republicans have anointed Sam Brown to be the nominee against Jackie Rosen, even though it's not an official endorsement, it's a tacit endorsement by the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And they've been going after Jeff Gunter, the very wealthy dermatologist who has really been going after Sam Brown, calling him Scam Brown. I think Sam Brown's going to win that, and probably fairly easily when all is said and done, but it's been very nasty. But the National Republicans are going to really crow when Sam Brown, if I'm right, wins that primary, and Sam Brown has a chance to beat Jackie Rosen, even though hasn't been in Nevada that long, never won a race, etc. Right. We're a purple state, and there's going to be a ton of outside money trying to prop him up as the second coming, right? And so Jackie Rosen has a very good staff. She's going to run a good campaign, but Catherine Cortez Masto ran a great, almost flawless campaign in 2022 against a terrible candidate, and she barely won, Brian. So
yeah, that was scary. Good point. That was very scary. That was too close for comfort, at least for me. You did mention Dr. Jeff Gunter, who has dodged me and refuses to do this show. But, he'll go on Wayne Allen Cook's show. That's another story for another show. But, he'll pay people like that and do interviews like that. But he doesn't.
Wayne Allen Cook came up during that mayoral debate. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
Yeah, I did not see that. But I will say this. When you decide to put all your money to a radio show, and we've talked about him before, we don't have to waste any time, but to a guy like Wayne Allen Root, I think that speaks volumes as to who you are. You're not a serious candidate, and I guess we can leave it at that. But I do agree with you. I think Sam Brown's going to come out in June, and I agree with you 150%. Last question, John. I do want to get your thoughts on this. It's a controversial topic, and this is, I'm sure you've seen it. The Kansas City Chiefs kicker who made some derogatory comments, I guess could be one way to describe it. It has a lot to do with freedom of speech. Tell me if you disagree or not with my take on this. Freedom of speech pertains to the government, right? But your words should always have consequences. For example, when you take a group of people, in this case, the LGBT community, and call them death sinners for Pride Month, your employer should have the right to fire you. But yet it seems like so many people on the far right, they want to talk about freedom of speech, but if Colin Kaepernick is taking a knee, they can call them sons of bitches. I just think it's hypocrisy at its finest. I just want to get your take on this. What are your thoughts on this story?
Well, you're right about the hypocrisy, and that the right, or some on the right, coming to defend Harrison Butker for his absolutely outrageous comments. But of course, people can say essentially whatever they want, except crying fire in a crowded theater, right? But that doesn't mean, and you got exactly to the point, Brian, actions have consequences. And the Chiefs are totally within their rights to fire him, as it were, just as I would if one of my staff members went out and then said some outrageous stuff. Sure, they're welcome to say what they want to say. I wouldn't impinge on their freedom of speech. That doesn't mean there might not be consequences for what that speech is. And in this case, we're talking, I don't think it's too much of an exaggeration to say it was hate speech. And there should be consequences for that.
I called him a bigot. And, some people hide behind their religion, to defend, their bigotry. And I just think it's disgusting. John, you are one of the best in the business. Before I let you go, can you give out that information about the Nevada Independent? How can people help fund what you're doing and support what you're doing? Can you give out that information for us?
Thanks for letting me do that. As you know, Brian, this is a labor of love for me. And then we've been in existence for 7 years. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. So if you give to us, it's tax deductible. Just go on the NevadaIndependent.com, check out the site, and if you like what you see, just give us a donation.
Highly recommend people do that. Like I said, you guys are some of the best in the business. Credibility, that's what counts, and you have that, John. And always appreciate it when you take the time to join us, my friend. And hopefully we can catch up again before November. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invite. Always great to talk to you, Brian.
You as well. Thanks, John. Appreciate your time. That's John Ralston, everybody. One of the few left in this business that is just a straight shooter. He's honest. He's fair. And those are the people that I have most respect for. There's not a lot of people in the media these days that continue to do so. So before I take a break, I want to play you a little bit of audio. I alluded to it with John Ralston. It's wild. It's crazy. And it involves Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ocasio-Cortez and Miss Jasmine, her eyelashes. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. This is the House floor where these congresswomen are trading insults. Now, it started with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and this is what the right is doing, right? They're trying to label Marjorie Taylor Greene just as embarrassing as Ocasio-Cortez and others, which is obviously not fair, not true. But I want to play you a little bit of this. This is what happened on the House floor yesterday when we were on the air. Marjorie Taylor Greene attacking the physical appearance of another congresswoman on the other side of the aisle. Listen to this. It's crazy.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
just
AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you please
order.
regain
That's beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee.
Order.
I do have a
All right, order. I like it when Jamie Raskin says that's beneath even you. I mean, going after someone's physical appearance should never be accepted when you're an elected official. I can make fun of Donald Trump's physique all I want to. I'm not an elected official. And I only would do that to someone who makes fun of others because of their physical appearance. But it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. And I will say, the rest of the people in that room, some of them didn't handle it very well. Ocasio-Cortez, rightfully so, gets very frustrated. I think she lets her emotions get the best of her, including Jasmine as well. Have a listen to this.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
beneath
would
even
you please
order.
regain order of your committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
Meeting will
attack the
suspend.
physical
Meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Oh,
Girl, baby girl.
oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl?
We're gonna,
I don't think
we are
so.
going to move, and we're going to take your words down. Thank you.
Okay, so again, I understand Ocasio-Cortez is upset. Rightfully so. Everybody should be upset at this kind of behavior. Calling Marjorie Taylor Greene girl, baby girl is you're stooping to that level. Probably not a good idea. I understand why she's so frustrated and upset. Folks, it gets worse.
Second that motion.
So who will have to fail? Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to
recognizes
apologize. No.
Mr.
She
Perry.
needs to
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not
still has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
Chair
self-evident.
you're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not.
of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
I move to
I would
strike
like to
Order.
the lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's the
control.
correct priority. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
All right, she's not apologizing. So you get the rest. I mean, I was going to play a little bit more for you because it gets pretty bad there, but I'm just going to stop it right there. What's really embarrassing is that, and I start with Marjorie Taylor Greene because I'm not going to put any of these other candidates at the same level of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a despicable, disgusting human being. She's vile. I understand that members in the House were upset, rightfully so. Don't stoop to her level. You want to strike the words? Go ahead, strike the words. She said them, so I don't think that's going to do any good. Who cares? She said it already. These are people that represent us, or at least they're supposed to represent us. What an embarrassment. Marjorie Taylor Greene is such an embarrassment. I'm not saying Ocasio-Cortez and others handled this perfectly. They let their emotions get to the best of them as well. James Comer is horrible at his job. We'll open up the phone lines. What do you guys think about this? 702-221-76 7283 is the number to call. And again, that number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. What do you think about this? I mean, this is insane. All right, who do we have on the line? We have Mark has been waiting patiently. Mark, what's going on?
How you doing, Brian? Can
Good.
you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I heard that like around 3 or 4 times already on regular television, and that completely. This is what their constituents want. They want Marjorie Taylor Greene to act like this. She knows that's what her constituents want, so she'll be reelected no matter what any of us think. But I want to really talk about how Michael Cohen could possibly sank this case. And let me explain real quick. The defense caught him in a lie, whether it was connected to the case or not. The defense caught Michael Taylor in a lie a couple of days ago, lying to this jury about a phone call that he stated that Trump took when it wasn't really Trump. So anyone who was leaning slightly to the left after listening to to the right, listening to all the evidence, they may have switched over and gone to the left a little bit. But then when they heard that Michael Cohen is now again lying, who he's lied throughout his entire life for the benefit of Trump.
Yeah.
But again, he lied because he has such hatred for Trump.
So let me respond. Let me respond to what you just said. And you're right. He was caught in another lie. But here's the thing, right? There are plenty of other witnesses that have taken the stand that are corroborating a lot of what Michael Cohen said. Now, we know that Michael Cohen is a liar. I would characterize Michael Cohen as kind of a scumbag, okay? I don't think, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think that a juror is going to be swayed just because of Cohen's testimony where they caught him in a lie, as you say, which is true. There are a lot of other people that have corroborated a lot of the stuff that he's talked about. There's also physical evidence, payments that were made in writing. So I'm not sure this is going to sway any of the jurors.
Let me get one thing out, Brian.
Sure.
I served on a murder trial, and the murder and the verdict was held up for one full day because one of the witnesses didn't get the exact height of the suspect.
Yeah.
The victim stated he was 6'2", when in fact he was only 6 feet, but looking down the barrel of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And this one juror took that and just ran with it, and it took us a whole day to get him off of that one particular thing.
Okay, so let me respond.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Because beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean beyond an unreasonable doubt.
You are 150% correct. You make a very valid point there. As I've said, all it takes is one juror, one dope, one person, and we will have a hung jury. Let's be very clear on that. So you make a very valid point. I'm not discounting what you just said. All I'm simply saying is making an assumption that these jurors are level-headed, they're intelligent. Most people would not take a Michael Cohen lie and throw away the entire case. He did say a lot of things that were true. He did say a lot of damning things about Donald Trump. Point taken. All it takes is one juror, and we might have a hung jury. My opinion is he will be a convicted felon. There will be some counts where he will be a convicted felon. Or it'll be a hung jury. I think it'll be one or the other. But I don't think this throws away the entire case. I don't think it necessarily helps the prosecution either, but there's a lot of other witnesses that have taken the stand that certainly did not help the defense. Okay, take another call here. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Vivian?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good, thanks. What's on your mind?
Okay. As far as him lying, Trump lies every day.
That's true.
Lie every day. They say they sick and they're not sick because they want to take a day off from work.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we just follow the evidence? The actual evidence is physical checks.
Right.
Sure. Why did he write those checks to Michael Clark for
listen,
no reason? Because he had nothing better to do?
Listen, Vivian, I agree with you, but we use the term credibility, right? The jurors, they know that Donald Trump is a scumbag. They know that. But, Michael Cohen's a scumbag too. So what they do in a courtroom is the defense will always try to hurt the credibility of the witness that is taking the stand. That's what they did yesterday. Trump has some very capable attorneys. Does that mean that these jurors are going to ignore, as you said, the actual evidence in the case? I would hope not. That's why I don't think it's going to change much. I don't think he did Trump, any disservices. He probably helped Trump by being discredited up there. But at the same time, the evidence should speak for itself about falsifying business records and election interference, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll have to.
I think so.
So, Vivian, we're just going to have to cross our fingers and hope that the jury does the right thing, right? That's all we can do.
That's for sure. I mean, we're all New Yorkers here, so hopefully they'll put that New York attitude into that, so because they know that guy is a crook.
Amen. Vivian, you're not going to hear an argument from me, and I love my New Yorkers, Vivian. You have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much, dear. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Damon. Or Deb, I'm sorry. Deb is next on PTL. What's up, Deb?
Hi. I just wanted to make a few comments. Maybe you could look at the other side of things for the accident.
Okay.
Where that poor man was killed.
Correct. Okay. Scotty Scheffler thing. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a retired traffic homicide accident investigator.
Oh, okay.
I was upset, to say the least, that everybody's taken this guy's side. That okay, he's a big man on campus. You have no idea how many times someone has ignored all the blockage and everything and tried to go through, and there'd be bodies in the street,
right,
and they still want to go down that way.
Yeah. Let me be very clear on what you just said. If the evidence proves that Scotty Scheffler intentionally ignored an officer's commands, then I want him prosecuted to the highest extent. I'm just going by this man's history, never been in trouble with the law before. His statement, it doesn't add up to me that he would intentionally not listen to a law enforcement official. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going by his history.
Okay, and I understand that, but I'm telling you,
yeah,
it's so important that people not contaminate the scene. One little thing getting messed up can just totally.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about the O.J. Simpson case, right? Go back to the days. Go back to the days of.
Don't
O.J.
even get me started on that one.
So listen, I'm with you there, right? I'm with you 150%. All I would say is I hear where you're coming from. I'm just going by what the police report said, what a witness said, what Scotty Scheffler said, and I'm coming to the conclusion that this was miscommunication, that what Scotty Scheffler did was probably not intentional. You want to cite him for a ticket, fine. I don't think he was intentionally trying to hurt a police officer. It's an unfortunate situation, but I want to see a little more evidence, body camera footage. A police report isn't enough for me. And is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, I would like to see that too.
Okay, good. So
yeah, like you said, I mean, it's possible what he's telling happened might have happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And from my personal experience, I think the police officers probably had the right. He didn't hear them. No.
Yeah.
No, it's you cannot believe how carefully they try to keep that scene from getting. And maybe this one cop, he got hurt, and maybe he overreacted.
Listen, as I say every day on this show, Debbie, okay, I say every day, most importantly, the overwhelming majority of law enforcement and people like yourself who have done this for a living are heroes. They risk their life every day. Police officers are not perfect. Sometimes they make mistakes. Yes, we want bad cops off the street. Let's find out who made the mistake. If officers didn't make any mistakes and this was all on Scotty Scheffler, then hold him to the highest extent of the law. I have no problem with that. It just sounds a little odd to me that somebody that has never been in trouble with the law before, all of a sudden, in front of a major championship, in front of the golf course, trying to get in there, all of a sudden said, I'm going to disregard an officer's commands and I'm going to drive with an officer on my hood. I don't know. Just something doesn't make sense to me, but you could be right. We both could be right. I want to
Yeah.
see. I want to see a little bit
I
more
had
evidence.
people try to run me down.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. I don't think Scotty Scheffler's that kind of guy, but I believe you.
No.
I believe you and what you've done and what you've done. You're a hero and risking your life for the good of all of us. And I appreciate your perspective, Deb. Thank you so much.
Well, I enjoy your show.
Oh,
I
thank you.
listen to it every day.
That means the world to me. Where are you calling from, by the way?
The armpit of Florida, Central Florida.
I'm sorry to hear. I thought you were going to say New Jersey. Okay, I'm sorry to hear you say that. Well, Deb,
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this governor. Oh,
well,
geez.
don't even get me started with Ron DeSantis, Deb. That'd be another show. He's a disgrace.
Ron to Satan.
Yeah, well, I can understand why you would say that. We're on the same page there, Deb. Hey, you have a great weekend, okay? And thank you for what you've done for this country. Thank you, Deb. Appreciate you. All right, everybody, here's what we're going to do next. This is going to be a treat. We have a Republican that's going to be joining us in studio. I don't know if he's a MAGA Republican or not. What I do know is that he's trying to be your next congressman. He's trying to take the seat away from Dina Titus. He is a touring stand-up comedian. And now he wants to, this is no joke. I take his candidacy very seriously. His name is Michael Boris, and he's going to be joining us in studio next. Before we take a break, I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Pioneer Air. Boy, the summer is here, ladies and gentlemen. I can feel it already in the air. And Pioneer Air has been around since the 1930s. Here's an offer that I'm giving only to PTL listeners. If you call Pioneer Air right now, you're going to get a VIP membership that's worth $150. Scheduled maintenance, dedicated hotline, repair discounts, extended warranty, and there's no catch. You're a listener of this show, that's what you're going to get. Give them a call, 702-703-6346. Again, the number for Pioneer Air, a new frontier in clean air, 702-703-6346. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and congressional candidate running as a Republican, Michael Boris, will be joining us next right here on Pushing the Limits on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
Residents of Las Vegas, Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
I am Eva Olivia Chase, candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, Democrat with progressive ideas, including a woman's right to choose, public money for public schools, student debt relief reduction, and forgiveness. As a trans woman and a veteran, I will fight to protect the democracy of our country. Vote and support Eva Olivia Chase for Nevada State Assembly District 16.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
A better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you join my friends over there at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great food, great atmosphere. And if you show your TAM card, you get $50 in free slot play every Tuesday in May. In fact, I was hanging out with the owner last night. We saw some Pearl Jam over at MGM Grand. Check it out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. It's getting that time of the year, right? June, right around the corner, where we are going to see the elections and, of course, the big ones in November. And I talked to a lot of different candidates here in studio. I had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the show last week. And The View was playing part of my interview. All of a sudden, Whoopi Goldberg's talking about my interview. That was a little bizarre and cool. But the guy joining us in studio right now, he's been a stand-up comic for a long time. He's called Vegas his home forever. And he's running for office. He wants to unseat Dina Titus, right? And he wants to be your next congressman. He's running as a Republican. Also has a long-lasting career in show business, and of course, he's done some radio as well, and has a thing or two to say about cannabis. I'm talking about Michael Boris, who joins us right now in studio. Michael, it's a pleasure to have you here. my
Oh,
friend.
thanks
How
for
are
having
you?
me, and I appreciate you guys very much.
Appreciate you being here. Okay, so staunch Republican, is that fair to say?
Explain what's staunch? More of a creative conservative.
Okay, fair enough. Trump supporter?
I like Trump's work, but I made a great living making fun of Trump on stage for years. But I literally, when I started running, I had to take it seriously because I was in radio. You can't pick, it messes with your demographic. You can't be one side or the other publicly. So I never did anything outside of helping children with cancer and epilepsy, helping veterans transition off the opioids back into civilian life. And I spent my life doing that. But now I had to sit down and literally Google, and when he says stuff like, they're aborting babies after they're born, and I'm like, well, that sounds impossible. And then you look and you cry for 45 minutes and you move on to the next 5,
But like I ask you that because he's the leader of the Republican Party now. We all know that. The MAGA part, I'm not saying every Republican is so pro-Trump,
No, and they're not. It's actually
Right.
pretty split. You'll find in the primaries. I was the only one that went out pro-Trump before the caucus and everything. And that's just, again, because I analyzed his work and I seen what he's competing against. If I had to pick anybody in the world to do something, I might not lean towards Trump. But in this situation, in this time in our lives, I think the man speaks to my soul. We need a badass up there, I think.
You think he's a badass?
Man, you ever see him walk by the Prince of whatever the heck where nobody touched him? He just grazes him on the shoulder, gives him a what's up. Like,
I mean, I don't
he's
know.
a New Yorker, so
Well, I
he's
love
unpolished.
So I love New Yorkers, but I think there's a way to be, and I'm from Connecticut. I love
Mm-hmm.
people back east, but I think there's a way to be a New Yorker without saying the things he says about, for example, John McCain or women.
His stage presence, I think, is horrible. I don't think I go out of country when I'm performing and I get made fun of. You have the Trump, but he doesn't. He's a boomer, and he's the collection of all their fears, their wants. And he's the voice for them, for that generation. And I know today it's a very sensitive area out here in the world and everybody gets offended by everything. But for his generation, man, that's the generation that beat the crap out of us and turned us into little soldiers where we ended up in a war with no war, So now you got a bunch of Gen Xers running around.
Maybe you'll probably disagree with me on this, but when I think of a guy who has dodged the military multiple times, who's had yes men around him his entire life,
Right.
When I think of a guy who, what he said about women and grabbed them by the what, and now the hush money case, forget about the criminality of it. We can maybe disagree on the criminality part of it, but what about just the behavior? The behavior of this guy.
So now you could work with your partner here and he could just have the most horrible disposition outside this room. But as long as he gets on this radio and he pushes them buttons the way he's supposed to, and he's doing his job 100%, you can overlook certain things. And something for me to overlook is that brash personality that he puts out there. Because I don't want my son going, this is the representative for our country.
Even if it's overlooking liable sexual assault, you're able to overlook that if you like some of his policies.
No, you have to. They do what they do, and you'll find this is with like 86% of politicians. They all have DUIs and sexual assaults. And
They do?
just
86%?
That's not an actual number, but it's high. It's ugly what the record just in Congress is. They do that thing where they're like, is it NBA or is it NFL? And they're like, no, it's the Congress.
I agree with you in that there are a lot of sadly bad people in Washington, generally speaking. I do understand where you're going with that, but I can't name one.
Because if it was proven sexual,
Well, it
then
was-
you have a felony, then you can't run for office.
Proven liable by a jury, and
Right.
26 other women not proven that have accused him of sexual assault or rape. But I guess
was he accused of rape? Or
well,
just
a
assault?
judge characterized it as rape that presided over the case. The jury charged him with, or I shouldn't say charged him, found him liable of sexual battery. So I just look at the way this guy's lived his entire life. Bad guy. Nobody can convince me otherwise based on the things he says about people, the way he's treated people. But I guess this is another question. I want to get to your criticisms of Joe
No,
Biden.
please.
I don't want this to all be about
No,
Donald
no,
Trump,
no, of
right?
course.
We'll get to Joe Biden, but you look at all the people that have worked for Donald Trump, so many generals, people that have worked underneath him. They either have flipped and testifying against him. They're actually campaigning for Joe Biden.
Guy has horrible character.
But right, and Joe Biden, he's been in office for how long now? I haven't heard anybody, not one person that's worked for Joe Biden that said, I'm endorsing Donald Trump. I mean, what does that say about the guy?
Well, Joe Biden doesn't have a personality. Like if you look and actually look at him when he's on stage, that's just, I think Obama in a skin suit. I don't believe that man is even coherent enough without, an Elvis Presley amount of drugs before getting on that stage.
But you know that if you go on YouTube, you can see compilations of Donald Trump saying the exact same crazy stuff. You need ID to buy. It's the same deal. They're
Shoot
both
bleach into your arms.
right.
Oh yeah.
They're both old. I think we both could agree. We probably both want younger people in office, right? Joe Biden's not my first, second, or third pick. I'll be very honest with you there. But I just choose him over because I'm not voting for, and everybody votes different. I respect that, but I'm not voting for somebody because they have a personality. I'm voting for somebody if I think they're a decent human being. That's my number one.
And that's what I had to do. I had to get past that bad personality, just like you have to get past the good one and see the actual work.
Okay,
when
so
that man
let's talk
stepped into
about that.
Israel,
Yeah.
6 presidents before him had promised this land they've been fighting for hundreds and thousands of years, whatever. And he walked in there in about 10 minutes, went, here you go, on to the next one. He's doing things that are unprecedented. And we only have these options, so it's like I looked at all the primaries for the Republicans, and I just found the work of Trump to be best. Bad personality, good personality. I don't care. I want to be out of inflation. I want the 18% to go down. I want the small businesses to open back up. And I want the kids to not, especially here, to be ranked 50 in the country. It's just ridiculous how it's going right now. I have a 10-year-old who can barely read, and he is breezing through these grades. And I'm going, it's a step, it's a new son. So I'm working with him now with my wife every single day to do what the schools are not doing. But this was unheard of when we were young. You don't just you heard of every once in a while, one kid got through high school, I can't read. And, the whole school would help. This is becoming a huge percentage of undereducated people. They're not being taught cursive anymore. What is the Constitution written in? Cursive. So now we don't teach a whole generation, and then nobody can read the Constitution anymore.
Am I wrong to say that there are a lot of uneducated people that are Trump cultists? I think there's a lot of uneducated people.
There's a lot of uneducated cultists. In fact, every cultist in everything is uneducated. You have people that are out there that are dressing up like horses to be horses. And I don't find them highly educated. Book smart's one thing, but common sense and being able to function in society. I think mental health is our number one priority right now. We're all suffering. There's especially men. And it's just coming to the surface.
No question about that.
Where people can start talking about it.
Sure.
But, in government and all sides, all parties, they don't want you to see what's going on in there.
I get that.
It's a clique, it's families. Even in Nevada, if you're traditionally not from, this Henderson area, how dare you run Republican? It took a lot for me to get accepted and to move forward. I had to put twice as much work as anybody
Well, let's
else.
talk about policy, right? We get off of Donald Trump, the human being. I think we probably agree on that. He's, I think
fun.
he's terrible guy. Terrible
Fun to
guy.
watch.
I don't know if Stormy Daniels would characterize him as fun. I think
More like NASCAR's fun. Like you're watching for the wreck. Like I'll watch him just to see what happens.
Well,
if
he
I want
gets
to see his
ratings.
work, I'm not going to get it on the media.
He definitely gets ratings, but I don't like it when he attacks people. Like, for example, when he says, if you're Jewish and you don't vote for me, you hate your religion. That's a stupid thing to
Right.
say.
And I'm half Jew. I was a practicing Jew for a
So
long
when he
time.
says something like that, you can't agree with that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is he's playing fear. He's doing an old
Right.
school,
Right.
tact for candidacy, and you make people fear stuff and create an outrage. And
Well, let's talk about that. I'm not sure if this is fear. I think this is reality, but I think one of the biggest subjects, and you're running for office, I take your candidacy very seriously. Let's talk about abortion. Donald Trump is the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. Yes, I understand the Supreme Court justices that he helped appoint got there. This is a big
that's
topic.
the reason he was granted presidency, or even the option, from what I hear, is that, hey, if you overturn Roe versus Wade, we'll make sure you're in office.
But what do you make of what took place in Arizona? What do you make of Alabama, where he says leave it up to the states, which which is true,
It's a
but
cop out for us running in federal office.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly the word.
We
I
all
was
know
gonna-
it. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of crazy though? This is the alt-right. Most people in this country, Republicans and Democrats,
Mhm.
believe in a woman's right to choose. Doesn't mean I'm for late-term abortion. It doesn't mean I'm for women using abortion as birth control.
Right.
But I don't want to tell a 13-year-old girl, God forbid, who's raped that she should be forced to have a rape baby. And the one person that we can blame for that even being on the table in any state is Donald Trump.
I think that's a very small, teeny tiny percentage, because what it's called is it's being pro-life with exception, and that is something horrible: incest, rape. Low income is not a reason to not use protection. Or like you say, birth control. I got educated, went to first choice pregnancy out here and got a little tour around. And I'd always thought abortion was they just suck out some gel. yeah, on your way. Or you take a little pill.
Right.
And if you educate, and we're not going to get into it because it's a horrible thing, but if you educate yourself on the procedure.
Oh, it's terrible.
I think everybody should have to do that. If you want to get an abortion. I'm a pro-life person, pro-life in my house. But I 100% respect a woman's rights to choose. You can't take one right away
And
without
that's my approach.
destroying everybody.
Michael, I respect your opinion on that. If you're pro-life or anti-abortion, whatever you want to call it, I respect that. If you want to have 100 kids, go for it. But you just said it. I don't want to tell other people what to do.
Right. Because it's not right for me, might not be right for you.
And that's a very fair approach.
But I'm very happy to educate people on why it's not right for me, and hope to spread that.
And that's okay.
But I don't judge them. I don't, they have their own mission,
Michael, there
their
are
own
people
lane.
on the far right that are calling these women murderers that have legal abortions. That's insane.
Well, there are some that are having them so late that, like, hey, I could just take that and raise it if you want.
But very rare.
Yeah.
Late-term abortion is fairly rare.
So they just made it legal where they half birth the baby, and then they pop.
I don't agree with that. And I think most Americans don't agree with late-term abortion.
But those are once you can't take away a woman's rights. So you have to take the bad with the good, and everyone has to compromise somewhere. Because if I'm going to say it's okay for you to get an abortion 3 days pregnant, who am I to say 9 months and 4 days pregnant?
I think Nikki Haley had it right. I don't always agree with her, but Nikki Haley had it right. She's very pro-life, but she said, listen, let's have, let's put 5 months on it. Let's put something on there where most Americans could agree. Let's not attack women for having abortions. I completely agree with her on that issue. Michael Boris joining us in studio is running for Congress, trying to unseat Dina Titus, a stand-up comic as well, which is why I'm laughing at some of the things he's saying. Not because I'm mocking him, because sometimes I laugh at people that I think are idiots. Michael's
there's
very
a lot
funny.
of fun in abortion.
Not a very funny topic to talk about. But I mean, what do you make?
Well,
of
at least the baby's stillborn.
Yeah. What do you make of the
it?
times we're living? What do you make of the times we're living in now, though, Michael? I mean, you got the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, the Lauren Boeberts, who are performing sex acts in movie theaters. Listen, I don't like Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar either, but these are we have some very unserious people in Washington, D.C., right?
I can't believe how different the world went in such a short time, because you prepare your life and you think, okay, at 18, I'm going to buy a house or join the military, and 25, I'll have my baby, whatever you want to do. But everything has gone so ass backwards to where I never thought, we used to play I don't even know if you could say it anymore, Smear the QW, which was a very popular game. We played it in school.
Right.
And it meant nothing bad, but now people are just so sensitive, and that's a horrible word. You should be sensitive for that. But in other terms, like I was just yesterday at the Barstow gas station out there, right?
Barstow.
Yeah, just driving, picking up my son.
Yeah.
And the lady in there somebody asked her, I guess, if she had a job or something. I don't know, something weird, but she just started screaming out, "That's racist," white lady, "That's racist, and you don't have, your nationalism." And this, and I'm like, this is a crazy world. You wouldn't even think to open your mouth in public like that, because somebody would punch you.
So I agree with you. I'll take it on two different approaches. First of all, I agree with you. I think as a whole, in our culture, we're way too sensitive of being offended. I agree. But then there's the other side of it. When people, for example, this Kansas City Chiefs kicker who says, if you celebrate gay pride, it's somehow a death sin. And I'm thinking to myself,
no.
Why do
support them 100% LGBTQ?
I appreciate.
I worked at Free
and I-
Zone. I worked at the Phoenix.
I appreciate that about you. Okay, you seem like a very fair, level-minded individual, and even though we might disagree on Trump, because there's no way I'm voting for this guy, I'm willing to absolutely listen and learn from people like you on why you're supporting Trump. But you sound like a very level-headed individual. But you know what I'm talking about. The people, so many on, and there's extremes on both sides. Don't get me wrong. But on the far right, the banning of the books, attacking transgenders as if somebody's going to have a gender surgery and then just to go into the bathroom and rape a child, which is absurd. The Ron DeSantis's of the world, it's like he's asked about Ukraine and, hey, if you become president, this was several months back when he was still running, if you become president, what are you going to do about the situation in Ukraine? He starts talking about gender ideology. I'm thinking, is this guy a buffoon? What are we doing? Why don't we just let people live their lives, man? Like, I don't understand that, Michael. I really don't.
I'm absolutely for people who want to change trans. I have a lot of trans friends. I've worked in entertainment for years.
Right.
I have great friends. I've done a lot to help with trans suicides and young people,
which people don't talk about enough. By the way.
It's a huge number, the bullying and stuff. And at some point, you'll realize all anger comes from the loss of control. And people think they can control the world, other people's lives, and when they can't, and the more they can't, they get extremely furious and start acting insane. I don't think that trans people should be playing in. Actually,
Agree.
Trans women turning to men. Hop in the NFL.
Agree.
Front line. Let you in. Let's make a whole league.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's
but
make a whole league.
But I agree with you.
But
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to, a woman should not get beat up by a trans
Agree.
man in a boxing match.
This is my criticism with those on the far left. By the way, the overwhelming majority of Republicans and Democrats agree with us on this issue. I agree with you.
Normal people are out there. It's just the louder ones are the far left,
Leah
the far right,
Thomas.
and they're crazy.
Leah Thomas, as a man, was ranked like 400th in the country as a swimmer, and then identifies as a woman, didn't even have the surgery, shouldn't matter. And then all of a sudden, she's the #1 swimmer. People...
And I met Riley. She's an amazing lady, and she did the same thing. She's like, well, this guy must have been the greatest swimmer ever. Transitioned, and then you look, and he's got a horrible rank, 400 or 500th, and then he goes in there, and all of a sudden, he's broken every single record. And what I think society is trying to take away the credit of the mother. It's now we have a bio female, a regular female. I believe trans people, when they change, I don't think you're like male or female in this. I mean, you might classify to get into the bathroom, but you didn't live the life of a man. You didn't have to have your dad go out there and fight you against every kid in the neighborhood, or just get bullied out. And
well, here's how I feel about that. You tell me whether you agree or not. I think we probably agree on this. If you get transgender surgery, whether you're, even though pre-puberty, I'm a little uncomfortable with it, but I'm not going to tell people what to do. If you are trans, whether I consider you a man or a woman is irrelevant. I will be respectful, and I will call you what you want to be called, so long as you don't affect my life, so long as you're not competing on the playing field as a transgender woman with other born women. I will be respectful to you. I will treat you with respect. Do what you want with your body as long as it's not illegal. That's how I feel about it. I support you. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to be in a body that you don't want to be in. Well, I mean, that's me every day, but that's another story for another show. But in all seriousness, I want to treat you with respect. Just don't overstep your bounds. For example, compete on the playing field with women who are born women. That's just wrong. That's all. And that's as far as I take it. I think the far right is obsessed with this issue.
Right up until I don't want to have to, and I'm respectful. If you look like a woman, I will call you she, her, whatever you want. I'm never going to call you they, because you are only one person. And I can't wrap my head around that.
Why do people care so much about that? Why don't you just, I don't understand why. I'm not going to call you by this or that. It's like, really, does that really affect your life?
I call what comes out like I do anybody else in the market. I see a guy, I say, hello, sir. I see a woman, I say, hello, ma'am. If you're Kyle on your third day transitioning, I can't call you
just say
she,
hi.
her.
Hi,
I can
how
say
you doing?
hi.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
That's what I would do. That's more safe, though.
Right.
Like, I don't want to offend somebody. All right, so we definitely agree on that issue. I ask every candidate this, and I want to ask you this, and it does go back to Donald Trump. And let me ask you this. I think I know what the answer is going to be, but would you agree with me that Joe Biden in 2020 was a free and fair elected president? You would not.
And I would have before. Now, before I got into the political arena, I would have 100%. I'd be like, oh, it's impossible. You can't rig these things. Man, it is insane what I'm seeing is really going on. They have group, I believe it's called the Watchdogs, and they are finding every time they go through zip codes, or district areas, let's say, you have hundreds of people that are voting still. You have dead people that are voting still. My buddy Lex Vegas tells a joke where he's like, my grandfather voted Democrat for the first time, and it shocked the whole family because he's been dead for 5 years,
Well, listen, there's always going to be a level of fraud in every election. I'm never
But there
going
shouldn't. It's 2024. Why do we still have fraud?
Well-
You can't get into my cell phone right now if you tried.
Well, I mean,
there's no fraud.
There's always going
there's
to be a
willing
level,
fraud.
but I think there's a difference between what you're talking about in some fraud and saying there's widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. I haven't seen any evidence to prove that.
They've shown thousands and thousands of, again, dead people voting, people who don't have citizenship voting. I've got a homie, Benji Reyes.
Right,
out.
but thousands, but okay, but as
He don't have no citizenship. He's voting 6 years solid. He loves
right,
his
but
vote.
let's just say that's true. That there were thousands of people that voted,
And it's
illegally.
more. It's way more than thousands.
But that's still
thousands
but
just
that's,
here.
But that wouldn't have changed the outcome.
But it's still not right because that's what
I'm
we're
not saying
catching.
it is right.
But I mean, that's what they're catching. So what are we not seeing? What's going on that we haven't caught on to? Or are we being distracted to look at just these thousands because there's a big manipulation? I
Okay,
think
but-
voter ID, voter integrity, you must show that is the minimum. And I don't even understand why it's a situation for people.
I'll tell you why it's a situation. And I don't necessarily disagree with you on voter ID. I do think you should probably have an ID to vote. But there are a lot of people that don't have the means. There are a lot of people that are homeless. There are a lot of people that don't have the availability. And I think we need to make it as easy as possible to get people to the voting box.
I think because I work with the Holy Smokes missionaries and we
Mm-hmm.
go out to help the people under the streets that are living under the streets, the means to get your ID are there. 100% because we help them do it.
Okay.
You don't need an address to get an ID, a PO box, and they have accumulative ones for the area that everybody gets to use.
I think that's admirable. The only point I'm trying to make.
But if you're voting and you're homeless,
Yeah.
you probably have the responsibility to get your ID as well.
I don't necessarily. I think that's a reasonable approach. What you're saying. Here's where we differ on this. I think it's a fine line between saying there's fraud, we want voter integrity. Hey, we want to make things a little bit more safer. Don't have a problem with that. Then saying we think Trump won. We think the election was rigged because I haven't seen any overwhelming evidence to prove that. And Trump had.
Yeah, and I won't say won or lost. What I'm saying, it was an unfair election. And when you have anything unfair, you have to pull that iceberg back. So you should have 0% unfairness in this day and age. And it's just as easy as show your ID, prove you're that person, say who you vote for, let them count it. That's one.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate again and say, before the 2016 elections, when Donald Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, by the way, Trump won fair and square. Hillary Clinton, admitted that the same day. About maybe 6 months to a year before that election, what was Trump saying? The Democrats are going to cheat. The elections are rigged. The same
Right.
stuff he said.
Fear-mongering.
The same stuff he said before the 2020 election. Then what happened? Donald Trump won. He won. Hillary Clinton conceded. For the next 3 years, I didn't hear really any Republicans talking about election integrity.
Right.
Why? Because Donald Trump won. And I'll say that until the cows come home. Donald Trump won a free and fair election. Hillary Clinton by the way, I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton did not run a good campaign. Okay.
I voted for Bernie Sanders in that one.
Hey, as a Republican, that's very interesting.
Well, I wasn't always a Republican.
Right. No, I
was,
understand that.
A blind puppy.
Hence why you're
But he had cannabis.
reasonable.
He was going to make cannabis legal, and that's
Right.
all we cared about. We
But-
were fighting for our lives with that back then.
Right. But point being, he did the same thing in 2016 and then he won. And if he had lost in 2016, he would have said it was rigged. He's doing the same thing now. I mean, when are we?
You never see the winner complain about rigging, like in anything. No winners.
but-
Winners don't complain about cheating issues typically.
But Hillary Clinton conceded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Al Gore even that came down to a couple hundred votes. Eventually, when he exhausted all of his legal, positions or at least what he could do legally, he also conceded. Trump is never going to concede. He's going to take that to the grave.
He'll try and stay in there longer than Dina Titus.
We can get to that. But don't you think that's a threat to our democracy when you have a guy who's the leader of the Republican Party who wants to rip up parts of the Constitution?
They can want what they want, but we have regulations in place to prevent such things. And it's not even about a voting. It's not that one-sided. So he could try to rip up the Constitution. There are way too many Americans that are defending that piece of paper that are never going to let that happen. And then you got some, dumb butts who live in the South, or no offense to them, but who take it above and beyond
their
a little. But
Confederate
they got
flags.
nothing else to do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they're just swinging flags and drinking beers
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah,
and shooting
exactly.
guns in the air.
Exactly. Again, if you're just joining us, Michael Boris joining us in studio. You're a popular guy. Your phone's going crazy here in studio. What's going on? No,
I'm trying to. I don't know how to shut the watch thing off.
What is your biggest criticism? Well, let me start by.
I got a whole bunch.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me
On me?
ask you one more Republican question, and then I
Sure.
want to go the other route.
Okay.
I don't know what Republicans as a whole stand for today. If you asked me 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I think I would have given you an answer. It seems like to me, they want to ban books. They want to talk about gender ideology, big tax breaks for the top 1%. Donald Trump had the biggest tax breaks for the rich. They want to ban abortion. Many of them do. I have no idea. They don't like Obamacare, but they have no replacement plan for it.
Right.
They have no answers for gun control except for let's make it easier for people to get guns. More guns make us safer, which I think is ridiculous. I have no idea what Republicans stand for. I'm not saying you speak.
No. I understand
Yeah.
completely. I had the
Yeah.
exact same thing. I went through my whole life not knowing the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. Traditionally, like what was the big difference? But what I've learned over the past is Republicans do not want government flat Republicans, and I'm like a new face for what a Republican is. A lot more people that look like me are starting to come out and get involved, and that's basically these Gen Xers in this age and the millennials, and everybody's starting to come out now because they're tired of it.
Right.
Rich people have been monopolizing both sides since day one, and there's too much technology out there to not see it. Where was I going with that? I had a good one too.
Well, Republicans stand for
Oh
today.
yes.
Yeah.
So the way I learned it is we owned dispensaries, right? And we were under Democrat regulation, taxation, and this is Democrats enjoy that government in there.
Right.
And if you live somewhere like San Francisco where people are packed on top of people and people, I think that should be a Democrat place. I don't think Republican anything over there is going to work. But when you're wide open, Texas, Nevada, and we own our land and our businesses, we don't want government interaction. We want our government focused on our borders and protecting us up from outside people, not regulating and taxating.
So border control is obviously a big issue. So, and I agree with you. So let me ask you this then. I'm not defending Joe Biden here. I think it's a Republican and a Democrat issue. I think our border is a crisis. But when Joe Biden and some MAGA Republicans put forth a bill that would certainly address the issue, would it fix everything? No. Was it perfect? Did both sides want everything they wanted? No. And then when you hear those same MAGA Republicans who put this bill together not voted in, and you hear Donald Trump made a phone call saying, don't vote for it unless it's perfect, does that mean that these MAGA Republicans are actually really serious about fixing the problem?
No.
I'm not saying Democrats are perfect here
I
either.
think they're more serious about being heard and getting attention and expressing their egos and their rage and their anger. And now they're packed together. And when you get people packed together like that, you start to create that riot mentality.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
But the wall, they're going under it. There's tunnels been forever. I don't care how big you build that fence. I don't give a
Agree.
shit.
Which he didn't, by the way. Trump ran on, we're going to build a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. He built 16% of the wall, Mexico didn't pay for it. But I agree 100% with what you just said. Don't you think? Do you agree with me? It's just Republicans and Democrats need to come together and let's start fixing the problem instead of bickering about it.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be okay. I'm going to hold my position the best I can, but I'm still willing to compromise and do it with some common sense. I hate using that word because it's overplayed, but
it's true. Not many
general,
people have
general
it.
education, common sense, and go okay. If you help me, give me an extra inch here, I'm going to go ahead and give you an extra inch here, and we can meet in the middle and maybe make the majority happy. What you have now is. In the Republican Party, you have a RINO, R-I-N-O, Republican in name only, and then you have your moderates and your far rights. So we're in a whole nother, I'm in a whole nother bracket for that.
It seems like the word RINO is used for people that have voted
Democrat.
Voted, in my opinion, well, look at somebody like Liz Cheney, who 99% of the time votes with Donald Trump. I've never always agreed with Liz Cheney. In fact, I disagree with her on a lot of but here she is. In my opinion, doing the right thing and trying to hold Donald Trump accountable. You couldn't find somebody more to the right, conservative-wise, than Liz Cheney. But the Republican Party, the MAGA Republicans, have ostracized her. Right? Mitt Romney's another one. Adam Kinzinger. These are people that voted to impeach Trump, and now they're calling these people rhinos. You couldn't find somebody more conservative than Liz Cheney.
I don't think that's what makes you a rhino at all, like going against the popular opinion. I think literally if you're voting for let's say like on the abortion issue, when it comes to pro-life and pro-choice and federal, he never touches it. But if you have traditional Republicans are pro-life, I'm pro-life. I'm just not trying to hate on everybody else or drop kick people. I wish
You're just anti-abortion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I wish that they would look into it more because I feel like if they saw what they were doing, like I did, and I'm 46 years old, I'd never seen what I saw. And then I'm going,
listen, if you want to educate mothers and you're not telling mothers what to do, but you say, hey, here's why I feel the way I feel. I see nothing
teach
wrong.
birth control early
I
and,
see
and do it
nothing-
effective.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. I have a problem with people that are forcing other women what to do with their bodies. I think that's wrong. But I completely agree with you. Okay, so let's move on to the Joe Biden administration now. If I had to give, or if you had to tell me your biggest criticism of the Biden administration or even Democrats in general, what would that be?
Oh man, the Democrats right now are so corrupt, and that's just in my personal experience. For me, in my personal
Like
life.
in what way?
So again, I had the first cannabis education show syndicated on FM in the country with Dr. Wayne Kelly. It was comedic and educational, and we did that 5 days a week. So I got to work with a lot of dispensaries and legal businesses that it became, for instance, we have no minority owners. We have one guy's got a billboard. I'm the black guy that owns the weed dispensary. Come on out here. And he doesn't want anymore. Why? Because you have to have $2 million in that bank, and you're not going to find a lot of people with those kind of assets who are locals, even, let's say. So it's stacked against. And they did do out here a minority, if you lived in the area, in the neighborhood, and you're willing to work it there, and you were black or Hispanic, they would give it to you for $10,000, and it was a raffle. So they sold like hundreds and hundreds of $10,000 raffle tickets. About 40 of them actually got the pass, a little less, and 0 have opened because they keep changing the rule. Oh, now you need the ventilation like this. And the guy's like, okay, finally I got the 75,000 I needed to do it. Oh no, it's going to need
So at the local level with dispensaries, you're saying there are people on the left that are corrupt when it comes to money and
it's money
and
and
I got
right
you.
and both sides.
Well, let's open up the phone lines. Let's take a few calls from people, and I'll open up the phone lines now. Michael Boris joining us in studio. He's running as a Republican, also a stand-up comedian. He's been in the entertainment business for a while. He will be voting for Donald Trump, and we've talked on a number of different issues. He's trying to unseat Democrat Congresswoman Dina Titus. Here's the number, 702-221-7283. If you want to call into the show, now's the time to do so. Again, that number, 702-221-7283, if you want to join the show. Okay, Michael, I got to ask you this question. I do ask this question to a lot of Republicans. If Donald Trump is a convicted felon, I know that's a hypothetical.
He should not be allowed to run for presidency.
Okay, so you wouldn't, but
120%.
Okay, so I agree with you, but the question is, will you still vote for him?
That would be dumb. That would be dumb. That's a waste of your vote, and your vote is your voice. And I don't care how much you want to band together. 100% of the people can vote for a convicted felon. He's not touching that office.
So I respect that answer very much. I really do. There are a lot of Republicans that don't answer it that way, that they hate Joe Biden that much that they would be willing to vote for a convicted felon.
Yeah, I don't hate the guy. I just hate the job he's done for us.
You don't hate him like Melania does.
No. He's not returning his calls.
Do you hate what happened on January 6th, though? Because I do.
I don't hate anything. I see what happened, why it happened. Those people there don't realize that they're being played for the media or anything like that. They think that they are taking and being a part of history now. And they're going to go out and storm the castle, and something positive is going to come out of it. And you can see nobody was in there drop kicking people or no guns.
Well, there were weapons,
but there was destruction of property.
And 140 officers were injured, which I'm sure you take
What?
seriously.
No, I didn't hear that.
140 officers were injured that day.
What kind of injured?
Well, some people lost fingers.
Really?
Some
Okay.
people had concussions. They were beaten with their own batons. So there were some people that were seriously
and
hurt.
those people should be, prosecuted
100%.
you
we
know.
agree.
That's
So-
not what that's
and
not what
most
they're
of them
going
were.
there to do. People, the majority didn't go there to go, let's go hurt people.
No, there were hundreds of thousands of people there that day, and even though I might disagree with their political opinions, the overwhelming majority of them did not commit any serious crimes. The people that committed crimes were the people that stormed the Capitol, and most of the people that stormed the Capitol but didn't destruct property, didn't assault anybody, are not in jail right now. The overwhelming majority of those people are people that defecated on Nancy Pelosi's desk, that stole property, that destruction of property, or that assaulted police officers. You're okay with those people being behind bars?
everybody that broke the law that isn't a freedom of speech law or, you know, a constitutional right, I think you have to protect. That's our rules. That's
Fair
what we
enough.
made from day one.
Fair enough. All right, let's take some phone calls. We got about 10 minutes here, so we'll take some calls. Again, that number 702-221-7283. If you want to have a question for Mr. Michael Boris, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tom. Tom is first up on PTL. What's up, Tom?
Hi there, Brian and Michael. And again, this is a breath of fresh air. I applaud you guys for talking face to face, even though you have differences. We need a hell of a lot more of what I'm seeing on the screen right now. Michael, all due respect, if I lived in your district, I would not vote for you just for the fact that you believe that the election was stolen.
Did you say that? Hold on.
No, it's not. I didn't say it was stolen. I didn't say Biden didn't win. I'm just saying there were unfair things, votes, anything that is corrupt in an election, even if one vote isn't counted properly, it's not being done properly. And I think with
I
the
agree with
technology,
that.
we should be able to do it properly. But I mean, if he's got the, you know, it's not like there were 500,000 votes that got switched around. We know Biden won his numbers.
Right.
But we just don't want there to be any discrepancy in the one thing you should trust the most, and that's your vote.
Yeah, well, Michael's not Dinesh D'Souza. He's not Mike Lindell, the My Pillow idiot. He's not like going
I
around.
got a picture with that guy.
Did you really? It's not like he's going around saying that you know, the election was rigged and Trump won. I think it's important to characterize that he's saying
could not even be intentionally rigged. There's just flawed. It's a flawed system.
I think the Electoral College is a flawed system. What do you think about that?
There's not a lot of things that I wouldn't be running if I trusted anything the government did. And if I thought anybody was going to speak out for us like a normal person. I mean, I have an appliance company. I'm not just all right. You know, I have employees, and you know, I work with GE. So I mean, I'm a real person. And I think more real people that's the main thing. More real people. They're shocked to see somebody with my background going at U.S. Congress, but I feel like I'm the perfect person for this position. I've been the voice of freedom, listed in magazines for 20 years. You know,
Tom, I'll give you the last word, by the way, before
Tom.
that's okay. Before we get to another caller, Tom, what else did you have for us?
Yes, and Michael, I'd just like to hear a little, just maybe one or two lines of your stand-up comedy. I'd really
Sure. You're putting him on the spot. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tom. Tom's from calling from New York, by the way.
I was born there. My father used to hate that I smoked cannabis growing up, and he would say, "You look high," and I'd say, "Yeah," and he'd say, "No, you look like you smoke 2.7 grams of weed," and I'd be like, "That's exactly what I smoked. How do you know that?" And he would hold up his bag and say, "I'm short 2.7 grams."
I like the weed jokes. I like him.
Clean.
I like him. Clean jokes. Yeah. PG-13 on the radio.
Yeah.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Kava, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Kava.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Yeah.
So I got a question for your co-host there. So, Michael, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If Republicans are such good people, why is it that...
Oh, they're not.
Okay, but let me say this. If they are, why do they insult immigrants, call Mexicans rapists?
Well, Trump
go after them. Why is that? If they're such good
Yo hablo mucho español. Yo tengo 3 años en escuela. Mi hija es España. Mi otra esposa
No
es
comprende.
España.
No comprende.
You'll never hear me call a Hispanic anything horrible because half my family's Hispanic and the other half's Puerto Rican. And
right.
So I just think that when it comes to getting over the border, my Hispanic family does not like the fact that they worked their butts off to get here and did it the right way, and people are being given stipends and
But
rushing
there is
over.
no right way, though. There is no right way. This is...
Yes, there is. You file out the paperwork. You apply for a work
Yeah,
visa.
but people just... Where's just ink on a piece of paper? That's all that is.
Right, but that piece of paper is the law that everybody.
Well,
decided
listen, I will
together.
say this.
There is a way to do it.
I think you both can be right. I think that there's got to be a way where we know who's coming into this country. We have to know who you are. We don't, you know, there's got to be a better, there's got to be a better way. Well, there's got to be Kava.
Where's fentanyl coming from, Kava? You know,
Well-
and I worked in the cannabis
Coming
industry.
from Dr. Phil, that's where it's coming from.
Thank you for the call, Kava. I will say this, though. There are more legal U.S. citizens that are bringing fentanyl in this country than those that are crossing the border illegally, according to the numbers.
Yes, yeah, it's legal citizens going to these other countries and bringing it in.
I don't want bad people here, right? I don't want illegal drugs coming here. Again,
nobody does.
Republicans, and well, some do, the ones that are capitalizing off it, maybe.
Somebody selling the drugs.
Of course, but I want Republicans and Democrats to work together, regardless of what Donald Trump says.
It's like get past that old rich people idea of what a Republican is. It's not that anymore.
Yes.
This is the working class. You know, we are the middle class. We are the unspoken. Nobody hears our voice because most of us don't even vote because we've given up on politics for so long now.
I agree.
And
I agree.
It needs to come back. Well, I used to hate when people told me, "Oh, your vote counts." No, my one vote don't count. It does.
Every vote counts.
It's
And
that
I don't
12th monkey theory. There's other people around you that need you to vote, so they know to vote.
Agree, but one vote in California should be the same as a vote in Vermont. I don't like the Electoral College. I think it's nonsense, and I think Republicans, maybe not you, but Republicans are afraid that they would lose almost every presidential election if there wasn't the Electoral College. By the way, they've lost the popular Electoral College,
the ranked choice voting.
I just think every vote should be the same no matter what part of the country you're in. And Trump lost the popular vote the last 2 times, and Republicans have lost 7 of the last 8 presidential popular vote elections. I think the Electoral College is a joke. I think it's an absolute joke. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. I'm not for ranked choice voting because in comedy shows, that's what they do, and that's how you could have done the best and still lose, even though everybody voted for you.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
They voted for Zoltan, too, and he was funny. You know.
I like that. Let's go to Eva. Eva is next up on PTL. Hi, Eva. You're on with Michael.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Michael.
Hey.
Michael, thank you for running for office as I'm running for office. And I appreciate you putting yourself out there.
Oh, I appreciate
I've been
you. Thank
listening to your answers, and you sound like you're a normal human being. Am I characterizing you correctly?
Yeah. I'm pretty normal.
He's not a Marjorie Taylor Greene type person. No, he's not. He's not Matt
Well,
Gaetz.
that's good to hear. I love that because on my campaign that I'm doing for state assembly for 16, I got to get that plug out there, Brian.
No problem.
But seriously, I've run into a lot of Republicans, and some of them are okay, and some of them are so MAGA that I don't even waste my time talking to them. But Michael, I think if you and I were sitting in the same room, I think we could agree on some things and possibly work on some bipartisanship ideas.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, and
we're
that's
normal.
important.
We're normal people.
Thank you, Eva.
Who don't just talk about inflation. We actually survive it every day. And
I will say this though.
yeah.
I will say, this is a little MAGA. This is
Is
something,
that no way?
This is something Trump would. No, I like it.
Yeah,
I'm just
Trump would
kidding.
totally do
So
that.
he's got this belt over here. Why don't you explain this? You got the rhino on there on the belt.
I have a wrestling show, and I work with a lot of famous people. That's an elephant, my friend. And what
That's
this
pretty
is,
cool,
yeah. So this is just to mess with my opponents a little, but
I
I've
like
given
it.
out 19 belts in my life, and before the wrestling, it was a Lifetime Achievement Award. And if you have done a lot of service for the cannabis industry and helped people, and you didn't take profit from it, then I would find and hunt you down and make sure that you got the reckoning, your flowers, as you say. But this is the first one I did for myself because the other ones are giant shaped. Leaves, and we take it seriously. We're not the recreational
Hey, I think that's
part
cool.
of cannabis.
I
We're
think
the-
sometimes politics can be boring, although it seems like the last 6 or 7 years it hasn't been very boring.
This
but,
is my favorite souvenir.
Yeah,
And I
that's
mean,
cool.
it's the real District 1 because I don't think
like it.
Henderson and Boulder City are the real District 1 to me. I'm an East Sider for life. I've lived there 38, 40 years.
I'm picturing you on stage wearing that belt in like a Superman outfit. That's what I'm
Dude,
picturing.
I can send you that picture. It's already been done.
So Michael, because we only got a minute left here,
Sure.
how do people go to learn more about you? I know you have a website. Give that out.
Yes, I
and
do
how
need
people can donate.
volunteers, donations. I'm not the one. The other guy's got 1.5 million. The other's 800,000. I'm at 50,000, but I'm tied neck and neck in 3 polls right now for first place.
That's pretty cool. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm real. I don't BS. You know, I'll tell you all my red flags, and none of them are felonies or DUIs or being in anything other than a productive member of society. And I've always led with my heart, and I've spoke for 5 million people, and now I'm ready to take it up to the next level, which is going to be the U.S. Congress.
Well, I think that's very admirable. And as Eva just said, who called in, while we might not agree on everything, I think you're a reasonable guy. And I think we need more reasonable people in office. Listen, to be fair, Dina Titus has done this show multiple times. She's come in
Still
studio.
smell her on the mic.
Well, I'm not going to go there, but I will say that she's a nice lady. I don't always agree with her on everything, but you know, you're trying to get to the point where you can you know, be one-on-one with her in a debate.
Right.
So I think
Michael
that would be
Boris for Nevada,
Yeah.
FOR.
Well, I'd love to have you back
Google
on.
Medicinal Mike. You'll see my entertainment stuff. But Michael Boris for Nevada.
Well,
I'd love to channel Dina Titus.
Regardless of what happens in June, I wish you the best of luck. You're welcome to come on anytime.
I appreciate it.
I think it's a really good conversation, and I appreciate you being here, my man.
No,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me and going easy on the abortion issue. No.
No, I thought it was a good, productive conversation, and I love these types of conversations. Michael Boris, everybody, check him out on his website. Give that out one more time.
That is Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Boris, B-O-1-R-I-S, for Nevada, F-O-R.com.
And I appreciate you being here, Michael. It's been fun. It's been an interesting show. We're going to check on Scotty Scheffler, see if he's doing okay. Thanks for joining us. Also, thanks to John Ralston for joining us on the show. We have a lot of special guests next week. You're not going to want to miss the show on Monday as well. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day. Check out my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, where you can subscribe for free. New website coming along great, and we'll see you on Monday.